As we roll into January, it's prime time in the transfer window, so I thought we'll bring you up to date with the latest. But before we get to that, ciao, Fab, it's good to see you. We've had the World Cup. It feels like it's been a while, hasn't it, since we've seen him? How are you, Fabrizio?
All good. Ready for the transfer window. Still quiet in Italy, but I'm sure that the next few weeks will be interesting.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So tell us, let's start with Milan, shall we? Who are they looking to bring in, send out over this window? What's the latest with them?
At the moment, they're focusing on new contracts more than new signings. They are really focusing on extending contracts, as now is really important for all the Italian top clubs. And Milan next week will announce the new contract of Ismail Bennacer. It's a really important one because he was out of contract June 2024. He will sign a new deal till June 2027. Then Milan offered a new deal to Rafael, and this is the most important negotiation. New deal for the next 5 years for 7 million euros net per season. So Milan are trying their best to keep Leao. Let's see how the conversation will continue also next week, but they are really pushing to keep Rafael at the club. And then Olivier Giroud, another important player. He did very well at the World Cup and always with Milan. They want to extend his contract for one more season. There will be conversations in the next days. So Milan are really focused on extending contracts. And then a new goalkeeper. I think Marcos Portiello remains the priority, but most likely a solution is to sign him as free agent in the summer.
Fabrizio, real quick, just to follow up on that. How far away is Leao's request from what they're offering? Is it a far distance?
At the moment, it's not done yet, but it's getting closer, we can say. I think Leao is not just about the salary, but it's also that he has to pay a fee to Sporting. We know that there was this legal question between Rafa Leao and Sporting after his transfer to Lille because of what FIFA decided. And so it's 19 million euros that Rafa Leao has to give to Sporting as things stand. And so this is why Milan are negotiating with Leao, but also trying to understand how he will handle this kind of situation with Sporting. So the negotiation is positive at the moment. We can say that Milan are confident, but it's not done yet.
Fabrizio, every time I look at transfer news, I only see really Napoli. I don't know if that's accurate, number one. But number two, what's going on in Napoli? Who are they looking to bring in, or who are they close to?
They signed Berezinski, and I think it's a smart signing because it's a backup option for Di Lorenzo, who is the starter, of course, he's the captain, but Berezinski is a very smart signing on loan from Sampdoria, and I think they will continue to plan for the future. So now they're focusing on Wahi, the midfielder of Morocco. He had a very good World Cup together with Amrabat in the midfield. He did fantastic. There are Leeds interested, Olympique Marseille, and also Napoli. The Napoli plan is to sign the player now and bring him in the summer. So they offered 15 million euros to Angers to sign Onai. Let's see if Angers will accept. I think they want a bit more than this, but the negotiation is ongoing. So they're planning for the future. I don't see them bringing in any other player in January. I think the real focus is for the summer and also to offer Kvaratskhelia and Kim a new deal. Especially with Kim, it's really important because in Kim's contract, there is a release clause next summer for 45 million euros. So Napoli mission is to cancel the release clause and offer him a new deal.
We know Juventus have a lot of off-the-field issues. There's rumors that McKennie could be the one that's sacrificed for them. How will these off-the-pitch issues affect their transfer market?
It's affected the transfer market for sure, because as you mentioned, this is a big issue. And so for sure, Juventus now are trying to keep things quiet on the market. They will try to save some salaries in the next weeks and months. So let's see what happens with McKennie, because they had some conversations with Aston Villa, with other English clubs. At the moment, Juventus have not received any official bid yet, but for McKennie, it's a possibility to leave the club in January. And also other players, I think, will leave Juventus in the next months because Adrien Rabiot is out of contract, and at the moment there is no agreement to extend his contract with Juventus. Juan Cuadrado, Alexandro, these are all players out of contract, and they expect them to leave Juventus on a free in the summer to save some salaries. And in January, I think they will be really quiet because of the issues they have out of the pitch. They will focus on young players, of course, Miretti, Fagioli. They have Rovella on loan to Monza, so the project will be with young players, and then in the summer to bring in new players.
Ciao, Fabrizio. Mine is a little bit of a two-parter. You mentioned Sofiane Amrabat. He had a fantastic World Cup. Obviously, a lot of names are chasing him. What does his future look like? And then the second part of it is, there's always some sort of bombshell transfer that happens every window. Do you expect something like that in this window? And what might it be?
I think yes. I think there will be something surprising, honestly, because now the market in Italy is really quiet. But honestly, also in Spain, for example, Barcelona are doing nothing. Real Madrid sign Hendrik for the future. But also in other countries, Paris Saint-Germain are doing nothing in January. So it's really quiet market. Of course, the Premier League is different world, but all the other leagues are really quiet. So I think at the end of the market, something surprising could happen. I still don't know which kind of club will move on important players. But my feeling is in the final days, something could happen. For example, let's see if Inter will decide to do something on the market. At the moment, they're really quiet too. And to answer your question on Sofiane Amrabat, He had an incredible World Cup for sure, and this is why many clubs called to ask about the conditions of the deal. But Fiorentina have been really strong. They asked 40 million euros for Sofiane Amrabat. This is why at the moment many clubs are not going to do any official bid. They hope that Fiorentina will ask for different money maybe in some weeks. But at the moment it's really complicated. I would keep an eye on Atletico Madrid because I'm told that Simeone is a big fan of Amrabat, so they are really appreciating the player. But at the moment it's still not a direct negotiation with Fiorentina.
Fabrizio, just to build upon what you just asked, how come? Why are all these teams not spending money in the transfer market this January?
This is a good question. I think Juventus we mentioned because of the financial issues they're having out of the pitch, and the same with Inter because of the balance, because of the financial fair play. They have to be really careful. For example, last summer they didn't sign an important centre-back, but they decided to go for Acerbi, who is a very good player, but on loan from Lazio, so they didn't invest big money on a centre-back, and this is still the same strategy. Also Milan, I think Milan are focusing with their money and their budget on new contracts. I think the market is changing in Italy, but not just in Italy, and they know, these clubs know how important it is to extend contracts, to save part of the budget, to offer big contracts to big players. We mentioned Leao, but it's the same with Rabiot for Juventus, with Skriniar for Inter. Inter are offering 7 million euros per season to Milan. Skriniar is a lot of money for a centre-back. So this is why they're trying to use part of their budget on new contracts to keep the best players they have.
Brilliant stuff, Fabrizio. So interesting to listen to what we can expect coming up. Thank you so much. Well, kickoff is now just over 15 minutes.